Good morning. This is Spirit Journey, and it is actually 2:30 in the morning. It is Tuesday, I think August 16, 2017. This is going to be a part 2 video, a continuation from the video that I posted earlier about the Asian man who passed as a black man in order to get into medical school. I want to tell you a story that happened to me some time ago. Well, again, with the video that I posted up earlier, that was about also affirmative action. One thing that I want to preface with this video is that I never tried to get things the easy way or rely on affirmative action. I always did things on my own merit, and that I have family members also who were very intelligent, and some of them were top of their class. They were either number 1 or number 2 or 3. So they were never handed something through affirmative action. They were highly qualified people. Well, with the story that I want to really tell you about, I used to live in the state of Hawaii, on Maui. I arrived in Maui in 1998, September of 98, and I acquired work, and I was let go of my job in the first week. In fact, 2 jobs that week. Right after the holidays, they let me go. And I don't remember exactly at one point, but I remember finding out about a civil service exam for baking, or a baker. Something like that. It was something in the cooking field. And that's why I went to Hawaii to do that type of work. Yeah, I have many different skills, and I went to school for becoming a pastry chef. I graduated with honors, and I had work experience while I was in school. And so now, well, I left my state of New York because the job market closed on me, and I needed to pay bills, and I knew that Hawaii had a place where they had a lot of restaurants and hotel restaurants, and I just felt that maybe this would be a good move. So I moved, and I did acquire work, and then when I lost the work right after the holidays, I know at one point I found out about this civil service exam, and then I took the exam and passed. And then I found out that there were a total of 5 jobs available in the school system. Yeah, the civil service exam was to work for the schools, the public schools. And so I landed an interview. I forget how I landed the interview, whether they contacted me or I contacted them. I think I had contacted them. And then I went to the interview. And when I went in, there was a man and a woman. The woman was a brown skin, some type of Asian mix. I don't know. In Hawaii, there's a lot of mixing between Asians and Native Hawaiians. And then the man was a white man. And there was extreme dislike in her eyes towards me. And they told me to sit down. We were the only ones in the room. And they said, you have to take another exam. And they were very nasty about it. So there was no interview until they had me take the exam. So I took the exam and passed that too. In fact, what I almost forgot, it turns out that in the state of Hawaii, at this time. I'm not sure exactly when I took that civil service exam, but I am the only one in the state of Hawaii who passed the baker's exam. The only one in the whole state, okay? So I thought I was guaranteed a job. And so I took the exam, and then they started asking me questions. Oh, before they started asking me the questions, the white guy had a box of pencils, and then he drops it over my head, and I think he did it deliberately. And then he went to pick up the pencils, and he starts trying to look up my skirt. I said to myself, what is this? You're going to drop a box of pencils on top of my head and then look up my dress? Then they started talking to me. I forget the questions. I did the best I could, and the lady did most of the talking. I think she did all the talking, but the white guy was just sitting there. She says she would get in contact with me within a few days. And then we did, I did get in contact with her. I forget whether she called me or I called her to follow up. But either way, we spoke. And this is what she said. She said, well, we decided not to go with you because you're overqualified. And anyway, we hired someone who's more qualified than you. That doesn't make any sense now, does it? And I said, okay. So I went to find out who else, the other, because there's 4 more jobs available. And the second person I talked to was a man. And I gave him my name, and I said, I'd like to know if the position's still open. He said, oh, great, I was looking for, I need someone right away. And he said he'll contact the office or something like that. And this is without being seen by him. And then there was a holdup. Then they didn't allow him to hire me. He says, my hands are tied. They're telling me that I can't hire anyone right now, but I need help. So I contacted the director. It was a lady. And I told her what happened to me at the first interview, what they did to me with the pencil and looking up my dress, and that they said that I was overqualified for the job, and then that they're hiring someone who's more qualified according to them, but that I was the only one on the list, the civil service list, that passed the exam. So I didn't understand what was going on. Then she gets kind of ruffled and says, oh, well, I know you're not the only name on the list because I put one of the names on the list. My friend, she said. I said, well, the person had the list in their hand and only my name was on his list, and the person wants to hire me. Well, get this what she says. Oh, well, we can't hire right now because we don't know how many children we're feeding right now, but we should know around the holidays. So, okay. So I called her around the holidays. Oh, we still don't know how many children we are feeding. So I said, oh, okay. And this went on for the next year. And I keep calling. I said, well, you should know how much, how many kids you're feeding because you're feeding them right now. You have to know how many kids you're feeding now to feed them. Oh, well, we just don't know how many kids we're feeding right now. I gave up. It was over a year. And so my purpose in telling you the story is that you have blacks who are qualified, who top high scholastics, but they don't want to hire you. And they didn't want to hire me. I've never met these people, but there was extreme hatred in Hawaii. And so, this is just a reminder what affirmative action was designed for. After the civil rights riots in the 1950s and 60s, they implemented the affirmative action in their way to correct a wrong. Because again, remember, the government had authorized the killing of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., remember that, and other civil rights leaders. And so the establishment of that day was afraid of a real backlash, and so these certain laws were passed to pacify blacks. But we got too comfortable, and then the attacks started happening again by them putting in drugs in the neighborhood and then not hiring. You know, it was a lot of harassment. And so here, affirmative action, everyone benefits. White women benefit, and so-called minority, people of color. But you know, in all this, blacks are on the bottom of the list for hiring. They still don't want to hire black people, so they get around it by hiring Asians and Hispanics and white women. But in the meanwhile, the black is angry. And some might even resort to violence. And it's unfortunate. American blacks are a very resilient and forgiving people. But now, things are getting so hard for many of us that we're losing our minds, some of us, and committing acts of violence, black on black crime, and other things. So this explains why maybe some blacks resume to this. I don't agree in violence in any form, but I just want to remind you that affirmative action is not something that is there for, we didn't ask for this problem. We just want to live in peace. I know I do. So just be mindful why there is such thing as affirmative action. And if you ever benefited by affirmative action, just remember who opened the door for you to get this benefit, but American blacks. Stop showing contempt for the American black and be grateful that we paved the way for wealth in this country and opportunity for many people. Because without it, many of you would not have a pot to poo-poo in. So respect the gifts that you get for the people who provided it for, who helped pave the way, and who sacrificed their life in the process. So this is just food for thought. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.